Training the Cowboy back with you on thelibertyplaybook.com, June 2nd. And Patrick and I had a chance to see Donald Trump up close last night. He spoke to a crowd of several thousand at least in Sacramento. And we had a chance for a brief meeting with him. And we didn't really have a lot of give and take with him. No cameras were permitted. But you got a sense of how he is when he's not before the big crowds. And what impressed me, Patrick, was he had a pretty good knowledge of what's going on in California.
Yeah, I mean, that one developer asked him a question about all the rules he has to follow and everything else. And Trump was pretty direct. He goes, what are you looking for, an override of federal regulations? Yeah, and the guy, right away they clicked, and it told me that Trump can take in something really fast, and if he has any kind of knowledge of it, he goes, what are you looking for? To me, it's a cut to the chase politician, not, well, you know, we can do this, and given a, 18-sentence answer, he goes, what do you want?
Well, if he does get elected, he's a guy who's not really, I don't think, going to worry about re-election because he's got all the money in the world, or at least he says he does. So that's one thing out of the mix. But what I find interesting, Patrick, for those of you who have not been to a Trump rally or watched one up close, it's an interesting cross-section of people.
Yeah.
Now, we know a lot of the folks who live up this way in Northern California, but you saw bikers. You saw guys and ladies in suits and dresses. You saw what I would describe as old hippies, agrarian types.
Tons of veterans.
Tons of veterans, kids with purple hair.
Yeah, it was everything.
Yeah.
And it shows you that it is a cross-section in America. I know the media keeps trying to portray this thing as just angry white males. And as you and I were talking yesterday, behind every angry white male is
an angry
could
white
be
woman.
a spouse, who says she's watched her husband lose his job and fall on hard times, and that falls on her. And unfortunately, in this country and a lot of places, the women take the burden, and they really have to carry the load sometimes. So all this nonsense, maybe yuppie women don't like him, maybe the women who have gluten-free diets don't like him, but the woman who's out there trying to make sure that food gets put on the table and her kids get an education, she's worried, and she's worried about her husband and everything else. So to me, all this press stuff is all nonsense. They ought to travel more.
Well, Donald Trump is, he has insulted Mexicans, he has insulted Hispanics in general, women, his fellow candidates. He's now taking on the media. He's been going after them all week, so we'll be watching them because, it's one thing to speak to them, but they do have the power of the pen, and they can make your life a little bit difficult if you keep sticking it to them.
Yeah, but right now it's working well for them because everybody hates the media, and they might like their local anchors because that's the person that comes in their living room on a regular basis, and you always listen to the local news because it's weather and traffic and things like that and what's going on. But when it comes to the national people, they think they're just a bunch of arrogant snobs, and they don't really get cotton to those folks, and he really took them to task.
One thing we talk a lot about here on the LibertyPlaybook.com is the Article 5 Convention of the States. It's moving along, 8 states now. There are several different tracks in which the Convention of States is moving along, but the most broad is now 8 states, Louisiana being the most recent. We asked Donald Trump that question last night. He seemed to get the balanced budget amendment, which is one example we gave him, but he didn't seem to know a lot about the Convention of States. So if you're someone who is following that, I wouldn't say Trump isn't your man, but it's something I think he needs to brush up on.
Yeah, and I think he will as we get to the general. I think right now he's still doing rallies, polishing. There's no opposition to polish off. I think this is the way to keep these folks energized as we go into that period before the convention, after the convention, because once the convention is over, boy, he's going to be going to the wall. So I think he just wants to keep the enthusiasm level up there. He's not putting out too many policy prescriptions at this point. He's not telling you who his vice president's going to be, which I think is a great idea. He's not tipping his hand to the convention other than, saying, well, it's going to be a special one. So I think he's doing everything right at this point, and the other side is the gang that couldn't shoot straight.
What do the president, the House Speaker, and Donald Trump have in common this week? We'll talk about that next.
Huddle up!